Hello, this is Mike, the Glampsite Builder. Today what I want to talk about is electric and plumbing, or electric and water. I have 5 acres of land in Honey Grove, Texas. It is zoned no restrictions. I get to build anything I want here, but I have to pull a permit for a septic system, which I did, and I've already been past the inspections. I am a general contractor that has built custom homes, done remodels. I've put in many septic systems, and we'll talk a little bit about the plumbing and the electric. First, I'm going to talk about electric. So luckily for our site, we have power running down the front of our road. So here's a power pole. I had an option of running the wire into the park, but they make you cut a 20-foot wide path of trees for that one line to go through it, so there's clearance on each side of it and so on. There was no way I was going to do that. So for me, now going overhead and running a line, cheaper. Going down, running conduit underground, more expensive. But I think you know which one looks better. So we went with underground, so our power started there. It might be different in your county, but in Fannin County, they ran that conduit, but we had to start the conduit at the bottom of the post, and we had to run the conduit down this driveway and down into the park. So the electric company had us do from the post to our panel, and they hooked up the panel and pulled the wire. So it was their job to pay for the wire and install the new panel. But you got to dig. I don't want to tell you exactly what, oh, you have to have it this deep, but I'm going to say 36 inches. I know that's deep, but I like to have electrical and plumbing as deep as you can, and 2 to 3 feet. And you might be in a place where you're going to have to get your trenches inspected, and they need to see how deep it is before you backfill. But we ended up having the power go down the road here, and right behind that truck is our panel. Let me talk about the electric panel. I buy the park, or I buy the land. I'm excited to get the ball rolling, and I want it to be nice and do it right, So it was something like a 800, I forget how many amp panel. I think it was an 800 amp panel. It was a commercial grade panel. And I was like, I don't care. I want to have a good panel. I want to have plenty, of room to add circuits and in case I keep adding on to the park and so on. Now this was just a little after COVID, and we know how fun that was in trying to get materials. So I had the double whammy of what it's going to cost, $6,000 for just the electric panel. And the worst part was, while I'm sitting there thinking, geez, do I want to pay that much? Then I find out that, it's going to take 10 to 11 months to get it, because they have to make it up, and the way things were running, and how things have got crazy during that time. So the combination of the price of the big panel, commercial panel, and the price of the panel that I got, which was just a 400 amp panel, something I've put on custom homes. So we have one panel down there, and then we have a sub panel running to other units. But pay attention to the size of your panel that you're going to need. And when I say pay attention to it, really what I should be saying is, you guys need to be talking to an electrician that knows what he's doing. Because there's a lot to know if you start to get into something like this. This isn't just your handyman electrical guy that's going to come out and hook this up. You need somebody that's licensed, knows what he's doing, has been working on commercial, residential, knows what he's doing. I don't skimp on electricians and plumbers and HVAC. Those are your main things that can really mess up your life if you don't have them. So anyways, I got the electric run to the 400 amp panel, which was, I forget how much, several $100s, but the cost of the panel went way down because it's something they mass produce and it gets put in custom homes all over the place versus making up a special panel. But if you have the time and if you have the budget, that's something I wouldn't skimp on. I wish I could have waited and said I'm going to spend more money, but that's not the case. So look into that, right at the beginning, and you're going to have a good conversation with your electrician. He's going to know what to look for. He's going to be able to give you advice, but the main thing is you need to have it the right size conduit, the depth that has to be down in the ground and run all the way over to the main panel. So we're underground to here. It goes to a main panel down back behind that black truck you see. We got the panel back there, and then the main panel we ran separate conduits to some units, and then we did a community bathroom, and we ran from the main panel a separate conduit that went to the community bathroom and laundry room, and we put a separate sub panel just on that building. That gives you more ability to add stuff to the, just waving to a neighbor back there. So the panel is, important. I got off track here with my neighbor, but make sure the electrician knows what he's doing. And I was having a sub panel at the building, so it gives you more options. You can add circuits. I'm not going to get too technical because you really do need a good electrician to talk about this stuff. I think I said what I needed to say on electric without getting into the weeds. I think I'm going to talk about the water now. Luckily with me, just like I had power in front of my road here, I also have water. There was a water main, or they have a water main running down, the property line, and then they tee off of their line and run it to that blue cover there. So the water company teed it off in the street. They didn't want me touching their main line going down the road, and that's pretty consistent all over the place. And then they ran the pipe and put in the meter. They left me with that. They did the whole thing and got me the meter. So it's my job to get a plumber or whoever to take the water from that meter box and run it down into the park. So in this case, I'm not going to walk all the way to the other side of the park, but we kind of did the same thing as the electric, as far as, the water was running right down this road, and I can't remember how many feet, but I'm going to guess in about the 500 to 600 feet of how long I had to run a water line. What I wanted to do was put a water line throughout the park so that we had the option of putting bathrooms in all over the place in the future. I wanted different hose bibs throughout the park to water something, but also for fire safety. So I have 4 hose bibs running around this road. You can tee off of the main. It's a big, thick plastic pipe that they put down in the ground, and you got to make sure it's in the 2 to 3 foot range, getting it down there. The codes might vary and where you're at, but the water and sewer lines have to be deep. And I talked about it on another video where we ran a culvert, and the bummer with the culvert was we couldn't put the culvert in because we had to dig down, and it's like, well, I don't want to tear up my plumbing lines and my electric lines. So we had to wait till we got our electric and plumbing, and our septic line is what time to get all the way through the park before I could put in the culvert over the top. So I wanted to get my utilities and things down below 2 to 3 feet, and then higher up towards the surface, I had a corrugated pipe that went over the top of them. But I took pictures when we had trenches and took measurements so we knew where things were. That's also something to really think about. Take measurements, take pictures. There's going to come a time that you're going to talk to somebody, go, oh, I think the electric line goes over here and the plumbing's somewhere over here. It's nice to document that stuff. So we had the water run all the way around the park. We teed off into 3 bathrooms, and we teed off the main line that went all the way around with 4 hose bibs. So we have water all around the park. So I think that, well, like, here's what I set up, is, you know, not just, I don't know, you see them out in the farmlands, the type of hose bib that the handle lifts up, and it's not something, a little cheesy one like you see on a house. It's got a big handle, you can lock it, but it's, you know, what we use out here on the big properties, instead of a little tiny hose bib like you see on a house. So I think that's about it on running your electric and water. It's good to have guys that know what they're doing, and you're going to breathe easier, sleep easier. You're not going to get as frustrated when, oh, you want to add an AC unit to one of these units and the electrician says, well, we don't have enough power. We can't get, oh, well, you should have told me we want to run a wire. Another thing that popped in my head is when you're digging trenches and you're rolling out the water lines or you're putting conduits down, it's always wise to throw in an extra conduit or an extra pipe, because you know you're going to need something in the future. And while you have that trench dug, I can't tell you how much money that could save you if you put in an extra conduit next to the one that he's running the wire in, maybe even 2. It depends on what you're doing, but it's nice having those extra conduits so that I can run something back from this panel to something new if I need to. Or if I have to run electric back over to where some other spot that we did, well, good, I already have 200 feet of conduit already in the ground, just sitting there waiting for us to pull a wire through it. Huge savings. Think about that. You just put all your lines, everything's done. 2 years later, oh, you know, I'd like to add another unit over here and maybe one over there. Okay, well, we don't have enough power. We're going to have to dig the lines and so on. So it's very common to add a conduit in the trench, so you've got another auxiliary conduit to add in the future. Not necessarily, we don't need to do that with water lines. So I think that's it. I think that concludes this video of running the electric and water, and hope you liked it, and I hope to get more information out there. I'm a general contractor that's been building for 40 years, and I do consulting, and I like doing this stuff. So thanks for listening, and I will talk to you again. Thank you.